good. And the genuineness, you both touched on that. I mean, that is so important, to be genuine. And I don't remember exactly how it was stated, but whatever you do to get somewhere or to draw people in, you'll have to keep doing that to keep them there. So if you set up a facade to draw people in, you have to keep up that facade, or because as soon as that's gone, what drew them in, people are like, oh, it's not there anymore. And so then you are striving and struggling and trying to maintain this appearance of something that is not who you are. And so then it becomes difficult and stressful and frustrating. But to just live out your life, to walk in your identity and to live out your passion in genuineness, understanding that it's not for everybody, and that's okay. It seems so simple, but also the concept also you see in the world is so complex, because people will scratch and claw and do whatever they need to get to the top. But then when they get there, they realize, I have to keep scratching and clawing, and this is really hard to maintain because it's not me. I've got up here and I realize it's not me. And so to live out in sincerity and genuineness, man, that's huge. That's huge. I think if everyone just did that, was true to who they are, man, the world would be a completely different place.
I think it is kind of crazy because we have had so many charlatans who've done that it makes it hard to believe and trust people when they are genuine. You know what I mean? What is your end game?
Yeah. What's your angle? What are you trying to get?
And which kind of goes back to what Josie was saying. That's the importance of developing a relationship. You know what I mean? So that people can see that this guy really cares about me because he cares about me.
Yeah.
But it is tough, especially when you see genuine people who want to start speaking into your life, trying to build you up. Oh, you're designed, you're amazing. It's like, what is this guy's end game?
Yeah.
What is he trying to get at?
Yeah.
It's tough because our world system is thwarted.
Some of these already kind of touched on in one way or another. So let's go with this. How again, we've all grown up in the church. How has your relationship with Jesus, not the church, but that personal relationship, how has that affected who you are in your identity? And then, so Randy first, and then Josie, who you are in passion.
So, for me, some of you know my story, I was adopted by my biological mother. She died in 1996. I don't know my dad. The Stacys did amazing, the best they could. One of the greatest gifts they gave me is taking me to the church and introducing me to Jesus. But in I have this drawing, to give a better analogy rather than trying to talk. I have this drawing I drew it when I was in the Navy, of me in the center, and then around it there's waypoints of my life where Jesus has been an active part no matter what. Not always visible, but I know he's been an active part. There's been some more visible. There was when I was in Bible college, there was a moment where I was really wrestling with who I was. And I would stay up on the internet. I would dig and dig and dig. And we're kind of broke, so I couldn't put a lot of money into finding out my history, my real dad, my mom, what was her story, what's going on. And so I remember one night so clearly, I was up till 3 in the morning just digging on the internet. And so about 2 days after about the struggle is when I got a letter from Marcy, my mother-in-law, validating the process I was going through, validating that struggle, finding my ego container. And she said in the letter that I had an arterial flow from the Father to me, so that my identity could come from the Father. And again, I got to say this because I want to validate this. She was not saying I'm the Son of God, nothing like that. But again, the relationship that you're talking about, that live, active connection that's available to all of us, she was highlighting that. And that the struggle and the process I was going through, it was right to find my connection. And so he's been huge.
So Josie, again, just how has Jesus and your relationship with him outside of the church, right? We're not talking about the church, but your relationship specifically with Jesus, how has that affected you and passion and your life?
I would say, like, whenever I feel like I'm loving somebody where they're at or who they are, that's honestly when I feel closest to Jesus. Like, in those moments, like, especially when somebody's messed up and maybe, like, not hit the mark completely, and they are feeling it. Like, they are feeling down, they're beating themselves up. Like, in that moment, getting to show them the love of Jesus and say, hey, like, yeah, you didn't hit the mark here, but that doesn't define who you are. And having Jesus speak that into my life constantly throughout just all the struggles with my identity, like, he's been the only constant voice in my life through people in my life that see, like, Jesus knew me before. And he specifically placed people in my life to call out who I'm supposed to be and call out the goal to me before I knew what that even meant, before I knew what it meant to be truly a child and a daughter. And without those people, like, I would not be who I am and who I'm becoming. And every day I'm grateful because I know that was Jesus looking out for me. He knew that I would be broken and lost, and he was not gonna ever let me go. And so he put people in my life, and he protected me in ways I did not understand, and I still don't understand. But I know, looking back just on this journey I've been on so far, I can pinpoint moments where I know he was there through other people speaking into me and calling out who I'm supposed to be, because they saw Jesus in me and they saw what he sees in me. And without that, I would be really lost and really broken. And without having that constant, because I grew up in the church, so, like, I've had Jesus in my life my whole life, and I'm so grateful for that, because without that I would have been a really more lost person. And so yeah, he's poured into me, and he's always helped reaffirm my passions. And every time I've doubted that what I'm passionate about is what I'm really supposed to be doing, he comes back and, like, triples down. He's like, no, this is what you're supposed to be doing. This is who you are. And growing up, people would ask me what I want to be, and I'm like, I don't know. I just want to love people. That's what I would always say. And I've always had a passion for young adults. Like, even before I was a teenager, I wanted to, like, help teenagers, because I could just relate to that lost feeling of, like, I don't know who I am, and who am I becoming, and what am I going to be in that 18 to 20 range, like, and a little bit younger. Just, I've always cared about that, and I knew that I was supposed to help them, but I didn't know how, and I didn't know what it was going to be. And God just knows what he's doing. And he's opened up a door for me to live my passion every single day through what I do with my job. And it's just, like, compounded and grown, and just, he's just so good. Because he knows the things that you desire in your heart. He knows those burning passions, and he knows that he's going to find a way to help you find those things by putting people in your life. And when there's a moment when he's like, Josie, these things in your life, these passions, these desires, these dreams are there for a reason. And you cannot go about your life and not fulfill those things. Like, there's this feeling that I know that there's something greater. And every chance I get with people I work with, I say, like, we owe it to the world to live our passions. Because when we're living our passions, we're stepping into our purpose and our destiny, and we're going into that avenue that we're literally designed for. And when we are struggling with what that is, or like where to go because of pressure from maybe your parents, or expectations that are put on you, like, and that's not your passion, then don't do it. Seriously, like, if you are not living what you love, then why are you here? Because you're not going to make the impact that you're designed to make on this world if you're not living what you love. And yeah, sometimes there's some crappy things, and there's moments where it really sucks and it's not fun, but every single day, if you wake up and you know that you have a purpose and that you can make an impact where you are with what you're doing, like, you'll thrive, and the world around you will thrive, and the people around you will change because you're loving them and you're stepping into what you're passionate about, and you're stepping into what God designed you to do.
That's good. One last question. It'll be for Randy specifically, and then if you guys want to say something, then that's fine. But how has your identity, you're a parent, so you're a parent, not a parent. How has your identity affected the way you raise your boys? You mentioned that you were adopted, and that was, maybe not until later did you really want to know more about your biological parents. But how has that really affected the way you look at your sons and how you raise them?
It kind of ties in with what Josie's talking about, but it's gonna be a little different, but it's a good transition. Dude, I own it. I own that role. I own my mission to speak into those guys' lives. It's my responsibility. And the world is jacked up when people don't own it, start from the inside and work out. And so that process that we talked about earlier was part of God getting me to a point where I could own this guy's process. So when Jacob was born, Callie and I, we named him Jacob the Conqueror, because that was one of the definitions. So from the very get-go, we gave him the identity of, you're going to go so much farther than I ever have. You're going to overcome things that I dreamt of overcoming, you know what I mean? His future is going to be so much brighter than mine. Let me rephrase that. My future is awesome. My life's good, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
His ceiling, my ceiling's going to be his floorboard. And so and I drew a little picture with Jacob the Conqueror, and that's our starting point. Isaac, when he was born, it was Isaac Cowboy. And there's a song, a pretty crappy song, but I want to ride to the bridge where the west commences. I can't stop standing bubbles, and I don't want fences. Don't fence me in. And so that adventurous spirit and the exploring, he wants me to enter too. So that's the identity we speak into him. But owning that role, taking it serious, when I discipline, when I praise, knowing that my words are affecting who this human's going to become, right? So definitely owning it, not haphazardly approaching it. I have moments where I fail, definitely. This is just a retro, but I'll fail, and then I'll apologize, and that builds trust too. I'll find them, like even Jake, he's hitting his teenager ages, he'll do stuff that every human's done that usually gets shame and stuff attached to it. I don't need to give specifics, but when we're coming into manhood especially, he'll do stuff that he shouldn't have, and culture, and normally in the church culture especially, will attach shame to it. So I approach it neutral to draw who his identity is in light of how he's behaving. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
To say he's looking at something he's not supposed to, I don't attach the shame to, like, dude, what are you doing this? Why are you failing me? Why you shouldn't be looking at this stuff? But yeah, it just, like Josie was triggering a lot of thoughts right there. It's the change, revival, whatever you want to call it. It's all going to happen when each individual owns themselves and the change that needs to happen in themselves. Does that make sense? And then spreads outward. We're often looking out there. The reason I was influenced so positively is because I was surrounded by people who owned their relationship. They had their faults, they were on their process, they were on their journey, but they were trying as best they could to be genuine and faithful to the process going on inside of them, and they influenced me for the better. Devil's advocate question, I could say that it comes to my mind, but because I know there's some people like this, is where was God for me?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Where was God when this happened to me? Where was God when this happened to me? I don't have specific answers for every single situation, but I want to see you be God for those people now. Because just to highlight, like, my childhood was crappy in some areas, but blessed compared to a lot of people. But I could take the not knowing my dad or my mom dying and use it as a pity party, then treat the rest of the world with that lens. Or I can be like, they failed miserably in their role, they didn't own their positions, I'm not going to do that to my boys, right? And so now, even though I've experienced a load of stuff, right, it's my responsibility to not pass that stuff on, to be the tip of the plow, to break up the ground for those behind me. Owning, it's your turn. We've had a lot of crap happen. People have had a lot of crap happen. It's your turn to be the change.
That's good. Thank you both for, again, taking the time to come here. I'll leave it. If there's something that came through your mind, you're like, oh, I want to say this. If you have anything you want to say, go for it. And if not, that's fine too. We can just call it. So, Josie.
I think maybe just one thing I'd love to say is, like, we owe it to the world to love ourselves. And not in a selfish way, but in a way that empowers others.
Mm-hmm.
And when you can love yourself, you can change the world.
Good.
No, I just echo that because that's kind of where I'm at right now, is being me for me. I know who I am, but being me for me. Not for the expectations of others, and not being a good spouse because I need to be a good spouse, but being authentic Randy.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right.